your 20 inches or better, say, man. Ride around on the shotties and rallies like, man. You see it and want it, then go get it like, man. You know who's who let them fully equipped like, man. Pull up the top, down the top of the white you been like, man. Down the body, let them see the TVs in it, man. Break your cut it lane when you whip it, man. You leave from the yellow hose, you can spin it, man. On the big boy rims.
Ulohos.com. Introduce yourself.
My name is Greg Uloho.
Alright. And, for those who don't know, just tell them a little bit about, your business.
Okay. As I said, my name is Greg Uloho. I own Uloho's Superstore, Car Audio, as some of you guys might know it. I do have a store right here in Dayton, Ohio, and I also have one in Indianapolis. I had one in Cincinnati that I'm currently selling.
Okay.
I've been in business since January 1996.
Wow. 12 years?
12 years. January
Okay.
1996.
So Uloho's Car Audio Superstore. Now, the one in Cincinnati, now you said they're selling like, what made you decide to pull out of that market?
Well, I never really fully applied myself to my Cincinnati store. It was profitable, but I wanted to make the move to Indianapolis. In this type of business, because you transact, you deal with so much cash. It's like I would love to have 100 stores if I could, but the reality of it is, unless I came up with some kind of a system dealing with it the way I deal with it, the less is kind of best in this sense. I know that sounds a little backward. You would think more is better, but when you look at it, it's not like some of my competitors where you go in and let's say, for example, some 22-inch wheels. My competitor wants 1,800. The difference with Ulohos is money talks. Let's say I've got $1,000 in something, but I want 1,800. The way I've got my guys set up, if you come in with 1,600, money talks.
Okay.
And that's what separates me from the rest, basically.
Okay, now let me rewind time. Let me go back in time.
Okay.
Because we know right now you're one of the biggest.
Definitely.
Maybe, is it fair to say you are the biggest of the rim supplier in the Midwest, or?
As far as a rim retailer per location, like my Dayton store, hands down, I believe, sells more rims in the Midwest than any one other location, for sure, hands down.
Okay, so that's fair to say.
Definitely.
Okay, now I'm just gonna rewind time back to like what made you start, rim store or audio store? Has it always been a rim store? Because when I think of Ulohos, I think of rim, but you sell other stuff.
Right. In January of 96, I graduated high school in 95, started my business in 96. I started off with it was called Uloho Novelty and Electronics. It was half of a dollar store, half it was a dollar store, other half I had some car audio electronics. I would sell maybe $100 store items, make maybe $40 in profit, versus I'll sell one stereo, one amplifier, and I've made $60, $70 in profit. So I quickly canceled out the dollar store. You got to deal with 40, 50 people to sell these 100 items, whereas over here you just deal with one person, one time, you made your profit, keep it going.
Okay.
So it was primarily car audio in late 96. Then I gradually got into the video, the car alarms. I got in the wheel business in 2000.
Okay.
I can recall when I first got into it, I got 3 sets of spokes. They had we were used here in Dayton. We used to ride Dayton wire wheels as far as spokes.
Right.
To our knowledge, we thought that was the only spoke that really existed. I jumped online, checked out a lot of places in California. I saw, wow, a ton of people making spoke wheels. We just don't know about it here in Dayton.
Okay.
So I think at the time, Dayton's were going for about $1,500 a set for 15-inch spokes. I was able to get them for $500 a set in California. They didn't say Dayton, but they were still spokes. Identical wheels, but one just didn't say Dayton, and I believe they were made in different parts of the world. So that's what got me in the wheel business. And I talked to all the local competition, people that are already doing wheels here, other retail stores. Everybody was more or less like, hey, don't get in the wheels. It's, not a big deal. But if you think about it, audio gold, because I was in the music,
right,
the car audio aspect, and I was buying wheels for my vehicles from some of the other competitors here now.
Oh, so was it like Oh, so you started more as like a fan, like you were into music, and that made you want to open up a store, or you just seen it was a good business to jump into?
When I graduated from high school, in '96, when I kind of started the business, it's my wife. She wasn't my wife then, my wife now. She was pregnant with my first child. I'm like, before I brought my child into this world, I'm like, I wanted to own a house, I wanted to start a business, I wanted to get married. And I did all three of those things in '96.
Okay.
And that's pretty much just trying to, it's a lot of people right now that's got money or a couple of hours of access to some money that wants to actually start a business but don't know what to get into, how to do it, what steps to make. I was a little bit more of a go-getter. I mean, I like to take risks. I like to kind of get out there. So I just jumped off the porch and got out there and just, I'm going to see what's going to happen. And
okay,
it worked out for me.
So now when you hit them with, so it's like 2000, now you came with, now this is hence the term the Uloho wheels, because you had the Uloho wheels, which you sold up the city with, even though they wasn't Dayton's, but they called them the Uloho wheels. So that's how
Yeah.
it came about, pretty much.
Yeah, people just automatically started calling them Ulohos wheels.
Right.
And you know, considering the fact that I was born in Dayton, I mean, I lived in Nigeria for about 8 years, but I've been here since I was 10. Back here since I was 10. You know, we grew up in Dayton, was in the streets. Everybody knows us. I mean, some positive, some negative, but it was several Ulohos the same last name, and the last name is so distinct. So I've had to deal with a lot of negativity from that, but in that same breath of air, when you look at it, it's like I stayed positive, I stayed doing the right thing, and it worked out in the end. The term on those wheels when they say Ulohos is just something with the advertising and people just seeing the wheels and just automatic just say Ulohos. It just, I don't know where it came from.
Right.
It's just Ulohos.
You know, that's kind of like how, you know, after you do something, people call your business. I've kind of fell into that. People, when I started imagining that, I became, that's my name.
Right.
Somehow,
You're right.
imagine that. That's imagine that. It's not my name, but it kind of tied into the business. So I was just wanting that. But now there's now this is something that we got to address, because I've heard this. I've always wanted to ask you this question. I never asked you. But I've heard, because I'm not from here, but everybody say that you are a prince. Is there any truth to that?
That's a good question, man. You know, since, like I said, since we've been here, since I've been back in America when I was 10, my mom has 7 kids. There was 4 big boys by my dad, and my youngest sister's also by my dad. But the 4 big boys were all a year apart. I'm the second oldest. My oldest brother passed away a few years ago in a motorcycle accident. And so I'm Uloho. He was 1. I'm Uloho 2, then 3 and 4. When we lived in Nigeria, we were, you know, I would say kind of royalty. I mean, I can recall, even now, my father's extremely wealthy in Nigeria right now. I mean, you can do a search online. He's like a chief. My grandfather had 72 kids and 32 wives, and he was stupid rich. I mean, he left everybody a whole lot. My father's extremely wealthy, but even with that, I mean, it's in my blood in a sense as far as some royalty, but as far as where I'm at today, financially, I haven't received any help from that direction at all. It's all been from, you know, I'm going to say this too. When I started my business in January '96, I started with $3,600. You can actually backtrack. A few people remember the Uloho sign when it was out on the east end of Dayton,
right,
on East 3rd and Finley. I started with $3,600 then, and 2001 was the first year I broke 7 figures in sales.
So a year took you to get cracking. Now, how would you say that, I mean, how do you stay in business, not just stay in business for a long time, but, stay in business a long time, but how do you, what's the longevity? Like, how do you stay on top of the game? You know,
you know, man,
to still be relevant in 2000 and still be relevant in 2008, you know, that gives us longevity.
I think it's a person, man. I mean, you've got to be as knowledgeable as possible about whatever field, whatever it is you're doing. The more knowledge you have in that field, the better. And then, you know, with me, it's my mentality. I mean, I hustle hard. Where some people hustle on whatever it is they choose to hustle on, I hustle hard in this business that I'm in. I stress out my suppliers. So what my goal is to be able to sell you as the customer a rim for the same price my competition is paying for it. So I'm kind of eliminating the competition with doing this. So if they're paying $1,200 and I'm selling to you for $1,200, it's kind of like, to them, they're like, well, why am I even in business? I mean,